My name is Jason, and this is Just Watches. Okay, today we have a really fun watch on loan for review from Formex. This is the Essence 39. Now, I liked the original version of this watch, but it was a bit too big for my personal taste. This 39mm version is the perfect size, at least for me. However, before we get to the review, if you're enjoying the content of this channel, I invite you to subscribe, and if you're enjoying the content of this individual video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much. As for price and availability, this watch is currently available on the Formex website in both 39 and 43mm sizes, with a number of different dial colors. The price is $1,490, which includes taxes, duties, and shipping. The case is, you guessed it, 39mm in diameter. It's about 45.5mm lug to lug, but the end links do extend slightly past the end of the case, making the true lug to lug about 48mm. The watch is incredibly thin at 10mm, even though it has an exhibition caseback, which is often thicker than a conventional caseback. Finally, it has a 20mm lug width, and then sized up for my 6 3/4 inch wrist, it weighs in at 125 grams. The finish on the case is very nice. The majority of the finishing is brushed, with high polish on the edge of the bezel. The other element of high polish is an incredibly thin and elegant chamfer that is cut around the entire side, top, bottom, and lugs of the case. Despite being mostly brushed on the top and sides, the bezel catches a nice amount of light. You'll also notice there are 4 screws partially embedded in the bezel. This is part of Formex's suspension system, which they have been using since 1999. This gives a bit of play to the inner assembly of the watch. Formex indicates that this provides 2 benefits. It adds both shock absorption and comfort. I can attest to the latter. The watch is incredibly comfortable, and a few times when my wrist was at kind of an odd angle, I would actually notice the suspension engage. As for the former, Formex will be pleased to know that this watch didn't suffer any major shocks while it was in my possession. The suspension system is one of the very uncommon and innovative features of this watch, but there will be a few more to come. Now, Formex was kind enough to send me both the bracelet and the strap, but let's start with the bracelet. First, this is a quick release bracelet, which you should know by now I'm a huge fan of. Despite having a ton of practice, I find reattaching bracelets with solid end links can be quite challenging. Having a quick release system removes this frustration and really facilitates trying the watch out on different straps, which is something I really enjoy. One of the downsides of a quick release end link is that sometimes the fit isn't as good, but the solid end link on this watch are solid with absolutely no play. The articulation of the bracelet against the back of the watch and between the links is about as good as it can possibly get, and this helps makes the bracelet extraordinarily comfortable. The 3-link style is mostly brushed with high polished chamfers on the outer edge. Now, this bracelet uses a butterfly clasp, and while that clasp makes the bracelet look very elegant, one of the downsides is you lack quick adjust. Formex addresses that here, however, and added a single quick adjustment built into the clasp that can add or revert approximately 3.5mm in a matter of seconds. Now, I absolutely love quick adjust clasps, but I was curious if just having the one option would be enough. What I have found from wearing it is that the single position is all I ever really needed, and I found myself using it throughout the day. Now, the double push deployant for the butterfly is signed with the Formex logo, and again looks very elegant as part of the bracelet. Now, when the quick adjustment is open, there's a bit of a gap, but the scissor of the clasp acts as a backdrop, and it's a lot less noticeable. Finally, sizing the bracelet is easily accomplished with screw links. Next up, we have the strap, which also has a very innovative clasp. Now, ignore the hardware. They didn't have one that matched the Essence. This is the clasp for their field watch, which shares the finish of that watch. Now, at first glance, this is just a double push deployant. Granted, the clasp is made of carbon fiber, but what is difficult to appreciate since it's so well built in is that this deployant actually gives on-the-fly adjustment. By allowing the connecting pins to travel in the bottom of the clasp, you can easily add or remove length to the strap without having to move where the holes connect to the strap. Moreover, activating this feature is accomplished with the same double push that opened the clasp, and when you get used to it, it's extremely easy and intuitive to use. This is hands down the best strap deployant I have ever seen. Now, the strap itself is comfortable and robust with a soft backing. The way the deployant works actually tucks the tail of the strap underneath the clasp, which gives it an extremely clean look on the wrist. Finally, the strap also uses quick release pins, so you can easily switch back and forth between the strap and the bracelet. The caseback is a screw-in style and features an extremely low-profile exhibition caseback. I love being able to see the movement of a watch, but oftentimes a display caseback will add thickness, which is a major downside. Somehow Formex snuck one in and kept the watch 10mm thick, which is incredible. This watch also has 100 meters of water resistance. This watch is powered by a Sellita SW200 chronometer grade. This is a special certification and the highest grade Sellita offers. The movement is finished with a custom rotor, blued screws, and perlage work. This movement hacks, hand winds, and vibrates at 28,800 vibrations per hour. The power reserve is 38 hours, and the stated accuracy is -4 to +6 seconds a day. COSC certification means this average rate was maintained for 15 days in 5 positions across 3 different temperature ranges. Finally, this movement has a quick set date. And as you can see, this movement is running between 0 and +2 seconds a day in the dial up position, and then about 1 second a day with the crown up. But this is what I would expect from a chronometer movement. The 6mm push-pull crown is nicely knurled and signed with the Formex logo. I find the crown is a touch thin in profile for hand winding, but as this is an automatic watch, that will rarely be necessary. For setting the date and time, the crown works perfectly fine. The flat sapphire crystal is a hair proud of the case and has an excellent application of anti-reflective coating. I like the choice of this flat crystal here as it helps preserve the extreme thinness of the watch overall. The dial on this watch is gorgeous. While it often appears black, bright light reveals a vertical brushing. There are also horizontal lines that are machined right into the dial that are exceptionally well finished and play nicely with the light. The date window at 6 helps preserve the symmetry of the dial and has large facets flanking both sides of the aperture. I have never seen a date window like this, and I absolutely love it. The Formex logo is applied at 12 with Formex printed below, and then Essence and Chronometer at 6. This is a nice balance of text on the dial. The applied indices are gorgeous with BGW9 Superluminova in the center. The top surface of each index is brushed, and then they have high polished facets that flank down on each side. The level of finish on the indices is very high, and the mix of lume, brushed, and high polished surfaces makes them play with light nicely, and they also remain visible in almost any lighting condition. The hands are equally well finished. The hour and minute hands are both filled with lume, brushed on top, and then have faceted high polish edges. Again, this mix of lume and surface finishing amplifies legibility and also adds visual interest to the hands when they play with light. It wouldn't be a Just Watches review if I didn't mention that I wish the minute hand was a tad bit longer to reach all the way out to the chapter ring, but the second hand does accomplish this task. The majority of the second hand is brushed, but the counterbalance shares the same elegant high polish facets as the rest of the hands. I really appreciate the level of finish on this handset. Despite the lume not occupying very much surface area, you can see it actually keeps pace with the Seiko on the left. And here is the watch on the bracelet on my 6 3/4 inch wrist. For me, I think this 39mm size is perfect, and then the watch is extremely comfortable. And then here is that watch on the stock strap. This is a nice alternative to the bracelet, and that quick adjust clasp is very, very convenient. So pros and cons, starting with the pros. Well, this watch is just packed with innovative features that some of them I've never seen before, like the case suspension, and then the quick adjust clasp on that strap. These are some really cool things to have that you don't really get from other brands. And then the finishing, especially on the hands, indices, and dial, is excellent on this watch. And then finally, it's really cool to have that chronometer movement. You saw on the time grapher just how well that movement is performing. And then for cons, well, I really think they should have done a screw down crown here. I'm not too much of a stickler for screw down crowns, but I know I'm going to see that in the comments. People really like their screw down crowns, and I think that would have just really completed the overall sport features of this watch to have that screw down crown. And then that minute hand is just a touch short for me. It's so well finished, but I really just wished it reached all the way out to the chapter ring. And then I think the lume is solid, but I'd like to see just maybe a tiny bit more surface area for the lume to really give it some punch in dark settings. Now, as for comparables, for a bit more, you could consider something like the Monta Noble. I have heard good things about the brand, but I have not had one in for review. And then on the less expensive side, you might consider something like the Tissot Gentleman, or perhaps the Christopher Ward Sealander, which I have a review of and will pop a link to in the upper right-hand corner now. And then in closing, in reference to the title of this video, it didn't really dawn on me until I had this watch in person, but this is a little bit like Casio Edifice. Edifice made a luxury watch. Now, subscribers of the channel will know that I'm in love with the Casio Edifice line and often review their watches. And if you look closely, this almost feels like a luxury cross of the EFR S108D with the screws in the bezel and the EFV 140D with horizontal stripes on the dial. Now, obviously the Formex is way nicer than Casio Edifice and has a lot of really cool innovative features, but I think the similarities are there, and it sort of made me realize why I'm so fond of this Formex. So there you have it, the Formex Essence 39mm. What do you think about this watch? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, if you're enjoying the contents of this channel, I invite you to subscribe, and if you like the contents of this individual video, please give it a thumbs up. That's all for this time. My name is Jason, and you have been watching Just Watches.